Hey guys, welcome to CART 101 once again. What we're going to be doing for this project is creating an abstract painting. So first thing we need to do is sort of get you oriented with the program we're using a little bit more. We're going to be sticking with Adobe Photoshop on this. And also introduce you to a few new tools that you're going to need for this project. So first thing I'm going to do is start up Photoshop. I'm going to basically come up here. You can see I've already got photo typed in there. I'm looking for Photoshop, so if I type in Photoshop, it's going to give me an option. If I double click, it's going to start Photoshop up for me. If you guys want to keep this in the icon tray for easy access, all you have to do is right click on the icon, go to Option, Keep in Dock. And that's going to keep it in the dock right here for me. I'm going to move this over next to Adobe Illustrator, which we're going to get into that a little later in the semester. So here I've got Photoshop. First thing you're going to do is set up your document. So we've got some specific criteria for the document we're going to be creating here. So what you're going to do is go to File and New. And first thing I'm going to do is give this a name. Now remember, when you're naming your documents, name them in such a way that I know who it belongs to and what the project is. So for me, what I'm going to do is, my last name's Crosby. This is the easiest way for me to deal with all the files I'm going to be sorting through and looking at over the semester. So I'm going to call it Crosby Abstract. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my document width. You can see there I changed the dimensions, like the unit of measurement, to inches. So what I'm looking for is 10 inches wide, 10 inches high, and under resolution I'm looking for 360. Color mode, we're going to go with RGB for right now. Should stay in 8-bit. The rest of this, just as default, is perfectly fine just the way it is. And I'm going to click OK. And it's going to create my document for me. So first thing we're going to need to do is orient you guys with some of the tools that you're going to be using. Hopefully this doesn't crash on me here. Alright, there we go. Okay, so first thing, you guys are going to need a couple different tools for this project. Probably your main tool that you're going to be working with on this is going to be the marquee tools, layer styles, using the paintbrush, paint bucket, eraser tools, things like that. So we've got Photoshop all set. Now, I'm not a big fan of working right on the background layer unless I'm doing some sort of exercise where I'm not utilizing layers in any sort of way. So what I'm going to do is, right down here in the corner, I'm going to hit Create New Layer button. Looks just like a blank piece of paper with the corner folded over. You can see that's made a new layer for me. And first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to basically mark this canvas up so it's not quite as intimidating for me. So what I'm going to do is grab my paintbrush tool right over here. You can also use a keyboard shortcut. If you hover over these tools, you'll see next to them a letter. So if I were to hit B on my keyboard, it's going to jump to my paintbrush. Also, you'll notice some of these have a little arrow next to the icon, and there's tools underneath if you click and hold. To access those with a keyboard shortcut, what you'll do is hold down Shift on your keyboard and tap the B key, and that will cycle through these for you. So I'm looking for just the plain old paintbrush right here, and what I'm going to do is, under my brush options here in the top left. I'm going to choose myself a brush. I'm going to increase the size of it so I can cover this pretty quickly. That'll work. And I'm just going to pick a color. Change the color around a bit and just give it a few swipes just to mark the canvas up so it's not quite as bright white and intimidating as it first appears to be. So for this project, what you can do is if it's really intimidating you, is just grab your paintbrush, make some marks, start laying some stuff down, start making shapes and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to make myself a new layer here, and I'm going to start actually creating a composition and making some shapes and things using my marquee tools. So we've got a couple options for using the marquee tools. Under the very top one here, second one down from the top, we can create a rectangular marquee, which is exactly what it sounds like. 4 sides, 4 corners, squares, rectangles, whatever you want. I'm just clicking and holding the mouse button down, sizing it to where I want it to be. If you hold down Shift, it's going to keep it perfectly square. You'll notice the tooltip dimensions are staying perfectly equal to each other in terms of height and width. So I can make myself a square, and now what that allows me to do is come in with any sort of paintbrush. And let me pick myself a color here. So now what I can do is, I'm on a new layer here, it's completely blank. With this selection, I can only make marks inside of this box. So if I wanted to make something like this, I don't have to worry about trying to overshoot the edges and then trim it all down to give me the shape that I'm looking for. So this is an easy way to sort of create yourself a little area where you can go in and paint and have some fun, make a different shape. And then once I'm done, I just want to deselect this. I can go to Select and Deselect, or you'll notice here most of these menus, every action has the keyboard shortcut right next to it. For deselect, it's Command D. To select everything, it's Command A, and to inverse your selection, it's Shift Command I. So I'm just going to deselect this with Command D, and what I'm left with, if I choose my Move tool here, is this shape. So I can take this and position it. I can make a copy of this layer. Make a copy of this. I'm just going to drag the layer to the new layer icon, and that gives me 2. I can then take this, and if I hit Command T, which is Free Transform, also found under Edit and Free Transform, I can grab the corner of this and spin it around. I could stretch it out if I wanted to, squish it, all kinds of things. And then up here at the top, I can confirm that transformation, or I can cancel the transformation. I'm going to confirm it right here. So I've got this basic shape that I've made and then altered so it bears similarities to the original, but it's been changed enough a way that I've created some variety. And there's other methods of transforming this shape. If you go to Edit and Transform, there's things like scale, skew, perspective distortions, even just something as simple as rotating it an exact amount, like 90 degrees or 180 degrees, or flipping it vertical or horizontally. Lots of different things you can do there. So that's your using layers and the marquee and your paintbrush, even eraser and free transform to create a shape and then modify it in some way so that it becomes something different, but still bears a similarity to your original shape. So we've got also under here, if you want to make something other than your standard rectangle or ellipse selections for making a shape. You can be a little more free-flowing with it by using the lasso tool, which allows you to just draw whatever shape you're looking for. And I'm going to use the paint bucket right here and fill this with a color. I'm going to do Command Z and undo that. I'm going to put this on its own layer in case I want to move it around. It's always a good idea. So I've got that shape there, just made with a normal lasso tool. If I want something that's got kind of a hard edge in spots, the polygonal lasso tool will allow me to basically you click and just keep clicking and moving and making the shape that you're looking for. And this is not going to be the most well thought out abstract ever created, but just purely to show you guys the possibilities of the tools and how they work. So I'm going to fill that with some color. And now what you can see here is as we're starting to construct some shapes and start to get things on the canvas, it's starting to come together into something. And like I said, I'm not really aiming for something like a Picasso here, anything that's really in the fine art realm. But you can see here is that I'm starting to break up this space and start to think about positioning of objects, the way they're shaped, and how they interact with each other. I can start to build up and create something pretty interesting. And you can see just in a matter of minutes, I'm starting to get something here, something that I could possibly start to modify and start to think about and put something together. So for this project, you might find that you'll spend 10 minutes and wind up with something that you're either very happy with or kind of happy with or not happy with at all. So the point of this is that you can fairly quickly create some sort of composition and move on to another one. So don't be afraid to make 3 or 4 of these. It's very doable to sit down, spend 20 minutes on one, spend 20 minutes on another, and another 20 minutes, and within an hour you've got 3 compositions that you can sort of sit back and take a look at and see what you've come up with. And also just to remind you guys that for this class there's not really any homework. Your homework is to sit down and work on your projects and put some time into them and some thought into them. So, okay, so for our last little tool that we're going to be utilizing here, I'm just going to make a copy of this shape really quick. If you hold down Option and click and drag, it will allow you to quickly pull out a copy, and that's reflected in the layers palette over here. You can see there's layer 4, copy. I'm going to drop that in. So one other thing that you guys can do to sort of add some depth and some variety to this is to play with what's called the blending mode, or I sometimes call it layer styles. So what you do is you choose your layer, and I'm going to move this up here. So I'm choosing my layer, and then right here you see it says normal. I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to just choose a different setting. So you can see here what it's done is it's now changed how the content of this layer, this maroon shape that I duplicated, it's changing how that content, those pixels, are interacting with the content beneath it in the layer stack. So what is happening is this layer is applying a soft light filter to the content of the layer, which is interacting with all of the content below. So layer 4 is now interacting with layer 2 copy, layer 2, layer 4, layer 3, so on and so on. And you can do this with just about every single layer. And what you'll find is that as you start to play with this, save a copy of your document, and you may find that as you're starting to go in and see what layer styles do, that maybe starting to take some of these and pull them around and change things is giving you a result that's kind of interesting to you, and you might want to explore further by changing the shape or moving things around and just experimenting with what you can do with the program. So don't be afraid to go in and work with stuff, see what happens when you just indulge your curiosity, be adventurous with this. Do give thought to composition and negative space. This is getting kind of convoluted and busy in here that I might have to go in and pare it back a little bit. But don't be afraid to just jump in head first and have fun with this project. And like I said, make a couple of these. It's pretty simple in terms of just pulling together a couple of shapes, changing them, transforming them, changing the color around in different ways, playing with layer styles and things like that. So give it a shot, see what you can come up with, and we'll take a